Welcome, everyone, to episode 203 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentelaresco. I write stuff and podcasts, too. Today, my guest is Chris Carolyn. Chris is an editor. He is also a publisher, and he's a really cool dude. This is the start of my When Words Collide conversations. I know they've been a little bit farther behind than they normally are. It's been a crazy year for me. But in terms of... it's always my favorite good show, and I always get to meet great people. I've known Chris for a long time. I've wanted to get him on the show because dude's just cool. And, he just goes about the business of just being involved in doing some great books. Enigma Front is now his baby, and we get to really go into that and much more. And also, well... I told this came up during this as I always wondered who actually got my horror nomination, and the really cool thing is I thought I got my answer in this conversation. So I'm going to spoil it here because I think I need to spoil it here. I always say it, man. Chris, thank you very, very much for everything, man. I really appreciate it. All right, let's just get to the conversation, shall we? Oops, I almost forgot, and actually it's one of the really cool things, too. My buddy Tim Reynolds is doing a signing at Waking Anastasia and Stand Up and Succeed at Chinook on Saturday. Now, personally, I love Stand Up and Succeed. It's one of my favorite self-help books, right behind 1,000 Steps for World Domination, which I honestly legit is one of my favorite, also great self-help book, believe it or not. But Stand Up and Succeed is great because it deals with what Tim has learned from comedy and how he applies it to his real life. Tim's a cool dude. I loved having him on the podcast. You should definitely go meet him Saturday at Chinook. Waking Anastasia is also a badass book. Just check it out. Okay, so I've turned the recorder on.
Okay.
So anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good? He pleads the fifth, ladies and gentlemen. So
Can we do that in Canada?
No, but...
Is there a fifth?
No, there's not.
Okay.
But it's a good expression, so
okay.
It's totally a good expression. How are you today, man?
Not bad. Stayed at the hotel last night. Didn't sleep so well.
I'm sorry.
I never sleep well in a hotel.
Really?
I don't know if it's just the different sounds, the different smells, the bed's different. It's a cushier bed than I'm used to. And hotel pillows are the worst.
Depends on the hotel. Some hotels, they're really nice pillows. It depends on the quality of the hotel you stay at,
well,
too.
I've just gotten in the habit of bringing my own pillow.
Interesting.
Whenever I'm staying at a hotel or I'm going to do an overnight at someone, like if I'm visiting relatives or what have you, I've gotten in the habit of bringing my own pillow because I've got the memory foam with the cooling gel layer. It helps with the sleep problems that I was having a couple years ago, so I've just learned, bring your own pillow.
See, I developed a superpower because I've traveled so much, I can sleep anywhere. Right? I have this ability to shut down.
That must be nice. I'm very much a creature of habit when it comes to my sleeping arrangements.
I used to move like an incredible amount when I was a kid, so I've traveled so much that you just get used to the fact that you're going to be in different things, so you figure out other ways to get comfortable.
That's fair.
Yeah, right. You just figure it out. So since I have that ability, it's like, especially there's points where like I don't want to see this right now. I'm just gonna pass out. Traveling is it's like buses, planes. So I got this down. It's like, what are you doing? I'm sleeping because I know that is because I don't want to deal with anything. Right? I might wake up for like a beverage just so I can pass out deeper. Yeah.
No, my wife is kind of the same way. She can sleep on the bus, in the car, on the plane. I can't do any of it.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I've accepted the fact that I'm going to be tired for the rest of my life.
I think that's everybody, no matter what.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's just
I've gotten to this weird point now that I'm so busy, sometimes I forget things like sleeping.
Okay. I've gotten to the point where my body and my brain will not let me forget anymore. I used to be able to push through and survive on very little sleep. I could stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning and be fresh as a daisy by 7 a.m., but...
No, so I figured out a balance. Like, I do have to take a day where I must crash. Like, so this is what I do. I give myself, like, there are days, like, you know what? I'm doing nothing. And I'm okay with that. I will sit in my bed. I will read books. I will play video games. I will not my body's saying, you need to rest, stupid. And right?
Yeah. I hear you on that one for sure.
Yeah, so I do that because I also, again, just the nature of what I'm doing, I have to be active right now. And so, ergo, I go, but I'm also smart to go, you know what? This is going to catch up with me if I don't.
If you don't take that break, the day that you have to go, you can't go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I got that down now. I know when I get older, it's going to go eventually to 2 days. And eventually it's going to go to, fuck this, I can't do this anymore. Right? But by and large, I'm so engaged with everything I'm doing right now. I think that as long as it's stuff I like doing.
Oh, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be tired. The only time I actually have to stay awake now, fight to stay awake, is my day job.
Yeah.
That's it. I fight, and it's because it feels so. It's weird to say this. This is feeling realer now to me than the day job is, and that's a good thing to do.
I understand where you're coming from 100%.
Yeah. The day job doesn't feel real at all, and so it's really hard for me not to just close my eyes and just pretend it's all a dream.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
And some people I work with may end up listening to this, so I'm not going to say anything terribly incriminating.
No.
But
no names. No names. No. It just comes down to the fact that, like in my particular case, I've started to see success in my podcast for sure, right? Which again shocks me, right? And because I never set out to do it like that, but it's just so weird.
Well, you were telling me at one point that you almost started the podcast by accident.
My whole career is an accident, dude. I'm not even kidding. Everything I've written, everything I've got published, everything that I've done is led I invented a board game by accident, dude.
Yeah.
That like my whole career is literally me stumbling around doing stuff and things happening, and I'm just smart enough to go with it. That's literally my career, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. I'm good with that. If I do that, that's it. So in your case, you are an editor extraordinaire.
By accident. Well, not quite by accident, but and it's not something I ever really intended to do. Editing. Yeah, I mean, I'd given it some thought, and at one point I was actually thinking of starting my own magazine. I thought,
you brave bastard,
right?
Yeah.
I was kicking around the idea of starting a quarterly science fiction fantasy magazine, which, it was. There are a lot of magazines out there, and they come and go, but I always feel like there's room for another.
So my take on that?
Yeah.
My take on that? There's a quality of science fiction magazines that doesn't. It's ironic to me that science fiction and fantasy magazines with things about magic possibility in the future, right? That they look like the oldest things on the shelves. And the irony on that is not lost on me.
Yeah.
And so my favorite magazine right now is pulp literature.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent production values. They feel like an old school, like by design they're an old school pulp zine, right? But it fits.
Really going for that nostalgia.
Yeah. They know who they are. Their magazine's really good.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Because so yes, pulp literature, pulp ladies, I love you, I really do. That's why I support you on Patreon. But the thing is, I look at other publications and I'm looking at what they're doing, and I feel like the heart's in the right place, but they're not thinking the way I see it. If a really smartly polished magazine came out tomorrow, and it lasted, let's say it lasted 2 years,
yeah,
you'd have the market. I think you'd actually legitimately have the market. You'd have to make it 2 years. But if you made it 2 years, I think you'd have it. Because I look at some of the magazines and I'm like, you have great stories in here, but you look like shit. And and the thing is, when you have a visual medium, this is how you gotta look at this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? If you have a visual medium, you should look pretty. You just should.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I really think that for a lot of the magazines these days, their visual presentation has almost become an afterthought.
Yes.
Because so much of it now is done through either their own website or they publish through Kindle, and a lot of the glossy formatting and page setting and everything that was really important to the magazines, especially I'm going to say like Realms of Fantasy through the 90s, they put a lot of work into their visual presentation. But now you subscribe to a magazine on Kindle and all you're getting is the black and white. It's just text on a screen, and that's fine as well. But when you're also doing a physical version of it, I agree. A lot of the magazines now aren't putting in the work to do that.
I realize there's a cost factor to that.
Oh yeah,
totally. But I also look at the fact, okay, so I would be looking at an app like Comixology for something like that, because honestly, to me, here's the thing. So yeah, you don't know like the page because of the way the phones are right today. The pages don't have to be like perfect page font. No, because you're looking at what you should be designing for is for the screen,
right,
up to down. That's what you should be designing your Kindle or your anything like that. But the thing of it is, if I'm on an app that focuses on a visual presentation, right. Guess what? I'm gonna get people that kind of just draw. That's going to draw people's eyes.
Yeah.
And when I do a physical thing, guess what? It's
a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's. Yeah. So anyone doing magazines, and by the way, I do know a few people who are, bless their hearts. I love their guts. That's like, you got to look at your presentation. It's such a big deal. Otherwise, you're not like, you can do cheap, and I understand cheap to a point.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's this thing called Patreon. There's this thing called Kickstarter. Like,
and I mean, there are those crowdfunding models. There's subscription models. There's when you get to a certain point, there's advertising revenue that you can optimize through either your website or selling pages in a print copy. But for someone just starting out, those avenues aren't always.
No. I get it too. I understand. You start with what you can do.
Yeah.
But you definitely should have a vision of where you want to go.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, ultimately, I didn't end up starting a magazine.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That idea transitioned when the opportunity for editing the Enigma Front anthology came up last year.
Yes.
Like I say, I had been kicking around the idea of starting this magazine. I had some people who were going to help me do so. Brent Nichols was going to help me with layout and design because he's a layout and design powerhouse. That guy's fantastic. But then the opportunity to take on the Enigma Front annual anthology came along, and I really thought that project had to continue. They did 3 anthologies in the series, and then the guy who was Justin Acton, his name, he decided he'd done it for 3 years. He thought it was time to pass on the torch, and I guess I was just there, ready to grab that torch and go with it.
You gonna keep going beyond 3 years?
Well, I'm committing right now. We've just released the 4th in the series, but the first one that I've headed up, we just released last night. But I'm committing to do at least 2 more, maybe more. Yeah.
You're enjoying it?
I really am. I've been bitten by the anthology bug, I think. I've got themes in mind for the next 2 Enigma Front anthologies for the next 2 years, which I'm not going to disclose right now.
No, you shouldn't.
And then I've also got an idea in mind for a trilogy of steampunk anthologies that would be fairly unique takes on steampunk, I think. So I might work on putting the first one of those out next year alongside the next Enigma Front.
So you you started out as a writer, I'm assuming, on this.
Yes, that's right.
So where does your writing fit in on all this? You gonna take that as a back seat? You're gonna be like, are you gonna try to manage both hats and juggle?
I am still writing. I've got a couple of pieces out on submission right now that I'm fairly hopeful will find a home. Short stories are definitely easier to slot in to this kind of schedule, but I'm a novelist as well. My first novel is under consideration with a publisher right now, and that's all I can say about that because there's no ink on the page.
Well, no, but good luck.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. But that's been a lengthy process as well, from submission to contract, and I haven't really started a big project since. Because
time?
It's not so much the time. It's just I've been waiting on hearing back about this novel project, and I don't know when the call is going to come. So I don't want to be halfway into another novel project and then get the call, okay, here's all the edits we need next week. Because that could almost happen at any time right now.
This I think this is where me and you differ a little bit. I recognize that publishing takes time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally takes time. So I can't stop. I have this thing in me that I have to keep being creative on some avenue.
Oh, I agree fully, and that's why short stories have been great.
Yeah.
It's mostly, like I say, I haven't really sunk my teeth into a bigger project, but short stories, you can rattle one off.
No,
I mean, rattle one off is not the right way to phrase it.
No, but the thing is, I suck at short stories.
Okay.
Right. It's like short. It's something I'm working on, but the thing about it is, like for me, it's more the fact that I like having like a bunch of big things going, because if I kind of subscribe to the spaghetti on the wall concept.
All right.
Right. I'll just throw all kinds of spaghetti in all kinds of different places. If they all come out at once,
yeah,
there are worse problems to have. That's how I kind of look at it. It's like, if I'm writing a book and I'm in the middle of editing a book I'm getting paid for, I will somehow find a way to make that work.
Yeah.
You're right, and that's kind of my take on that.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Again, it's on personal level, like it's about comfort too, and I get that. It just for me, this is just, I just feel like you always have to keep moving. Like, no matter what it is, you must keep moving, because putting all eggs on one basket just. And obviously, in your case, that's not that.
It's not quite what I'm.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just, for me, it's like I realized this a long time ago. I only have so much time.
Right.
Right. So if I don't do something, and this is the other thing too. I recognize this too with just previous writing novel attempts in the past. If you go too long, you become a different person. So those ideas you had when you had them, now sometimes they germinate into something better.
Yeah.
But it's right sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes that idea you have now applies to who you are now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And that's a very interesting tightrope to walk. I think I probably would just risk drowning in creative stuff. Just me.
No, it's definitely like some projects do need to be written right away. Yeah. And some really need to percolate and get refined from first idea to the actual draft that you end up writing, maybe a month later, maybe 6 months, maybe 6 years later. Sometimes you're not the writer you need to be for the idea that you have that day, but sometimes you are.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's a hard thing to recognize.
It's a hard thing to recognize.
Yeah, I have a story that's been in my head for about 10 years, and I'm still not ready.
I've got one of those too. And I actually had something of a breakthrough on one of those recently. It was an idea for a fantasy series that I started working on. How old am I now? I started working on this thing about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And it was going nowhere. But I had an idea a couple weeks ago that I think is the breakthrough on that old idea.
That's cool. Whereas me, I have one, literally, I want to do a story about the Renaissance, the 1930s, and now, for what they have, because they have something really interesting in common, and I see the link. But I'm like, but what's my story? And the thing is, I haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah.
Right. And I also there's just a part of me that recognizes you're kind of in your silly phase, Josh. And so since you're in your silly phase, you need to get some of that out of your system, right? And I'm totally good with that. That's where I'm at, because this feels like a very serious book. Right? And I know that book will have some humor, it's not a humorous book. It's more of a very serious concept about, and it's like, I'm talking about the nature of how things change and why. I'm like, you can't do that as a joke.
Right.
You just can't.
Of course.
Right. So, but am I ready to tell that? No. Because I know there's a lot more changes I need to go through to get to that point. Whereas right now, when I'm writing about the cloud is archaeology and a unicorn that farts rainbows, I think I can do that right now.
Yeah. You're always good for a farting unicorn.
Yeah. Mostly polar. So it's like I can totally do that right now. But that's, so I think that's an interesting. So your approach is, I think, again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a very different thing. I just feel like I just gotta dive in and just do what I'm doing, or if I don't, people might. I might miss it, because I know there's one story in particular I missed the window, because I'm not that guy anymore.
Okay.
Right. I just like, that guy wrote this, and if I go in and I change this, it's not the story anymore.
Right.
I know enough to make it better, but I lose.
But would it still be true to itself?
Exactly.
Right.
There's a really, really tricky line with that.
Yeah.
Right. So in some stories, I recognize that window has passed.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain maturity you need to reach to recognize that as well. Like,
yeah. So I'm very careful. It's like, so if I have a really good idea and it feels really, 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 really good, I try to do it, and I feel like I can do this. Do it now, because I just I'm a little nuts. I can't help myself.
Hey, if you don't go for it, no one else is going to go for it for you. So
totally.
Yeah.
So the first book's out. Or the Name of Your Friend, the first Name of Your Friend is out.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
It is a fairly large weight off my shoulders to finally have that book out in the world. It's the first time I was planning to volunteer as a co-editor, like a developmental story editor, on the volume this year, until Justin said he was stepping back. So I'd mentally prepped myself to edit a couple stories, not take on being managing editor and publishing the book.
You crash course this hard.
I was ready to get in to the kiddie pool, and I was thrown off the high top diving board.
So it sounds.
I cannonballed it.
You're like, Mom.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So it's been about. Let's see. I announced that I was going to take it on at the IFWA meeting last October, I think.
That was my last IFWA meeting.
That was the last time you were there?
Yeah, because that was right before I fixed my teeth. Because that was me doing like talk and presentation that day.
Right.
You're right. I was there, and
okay.
and that was my last IFWA meeting, because it's like I had teeth stuff to deal with, and I just haven't had a chance to come back yet.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're still there when you're ready to come back. At the time. We're still there.
After the Aurora, I think I'll be able to come around.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah.
On making the shortlist. That's fantastic.
I was totally blown away by that. You have no idea. I didn't put myself in or anything. I literally woke up one day and I read an email. Congratulations, Aurora. Like what?
I'll let you in on a little secret.
Yeah.
I was the one that put you on the eligibility list.
Thank you.
Yes. Because I believe in what you're doing.
So. Wow. Yeah. Now I've been wondering who that was.
That was me. I wasn't.
Yeah. Because I was that's done. I never even thought to put myself in that. And
the eligibility lists were looking a little thin for a while there. So I was like, well, who do I know that's doing good work? So I put a couple of podcasters I know. A couple of writers I know, and some other folks.
Well, yeah, I know, and the one, if it wasn't for, obviously I'm going to vote for myself in that category. But if I wasn't voting for myself, I love Claire and what Sam are doing. They have a really good business sense, and I think, to be perfectly honest with you, they're both a lot sharper than people realize. And
their podcast is fantastic.
Yeah, no,
The Business BFFs.
Yeah, it's really good.
For the nuts and bolts of actually the business of writing.
They're
doing fantastic work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think they do great stuff. I just, like I say, if I wasn't in that category, that's who I'd vote for. So,
there you go.
I'm being very honest. I really like. Again, they're both incredibly sharp women, and I don't think they get enough credit for that. So there you go, guys. Free plug. So yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, no, well, thank you. No, thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I might tear up a little bit. Yeah. No, I was genuinely stunned. I never expected that in my wildest dreams. I did this because I want to get people to know who they are. And I think that's a very important thing, because a lot of writers, editors, they don't have that platform, especially up here.
Yeah, and something like getting on the Aurora shortlist elevates what you're doing.
Yep.
And therefore elevates everyone who's coming along with you.
Yes.
So by raising your platform, we're raising the platform of all of your guests along the way as well.
Yeah, no, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, but it was still really cool, and it's definitely picked up my business. Thank you very much.
Well, good.
Yeah. But no, so I'm gonna ask a very hard question, since you were thrown off into the deep end.
Okay, let's do it.
What did you learn?
Oh, what didn't I learn?
Yeah.
I've had a few things that I knew about myself confirmed. I'm very much a person who, when I take on a project, I don't just take on I don't just take the ball. I take the ball and I run full tilt with it. So, like I've learned a lot of the nuts and bolts of what goes into making an anthology and the editorial process. As a writer, I'd submit a story and wait and get impatient and keep waiting and get more impatient and keep waiting and wonder what the heck the holdup is before finally rejection comes along, or whatever, or an acceptance, or so I've really learned, like, being on the other end and seeing like what the selection process really is like for a story to make the first cut into the anthology or magazine or whatever the project is. I don't think I really had an appreciation for that before. So I definitely learned a bit about why publishing takes as long as it does sometimes.
Yeah.
Be on the writer end of things, you always hear, oh, publishing's a slow game. Oh, don't get into publishing if you're in a hurry. And you're like, yeah. But yeah, as an editor, you start to see, because this project has taken almost 10 months.
Yeah.
From the start to the printed book being in the reader's hand was about 10 months. And I was not working on it constantly. We put out our general call for submissions for 2 months, and some stories would trickle in, and you get your rush at the end, but that's almost 2 months where you're not really doing a whole lot on a day-to-day. And then there's a furious week of reading submissions and making decisions, and then not much happens for another month. And then you connect the co-editors with the writers they're going to be working with, and that's a furious week. And then not much happens for another month.
It's almost like, it sounds like a water wheel. You put it at, you got this big thing of water coming to hit you.
Yeah.
You distribute it as you need it. You send it away. The wheel goes away for a while, and then comes back with another thing of water.
And then comes back with a bucket.
Yeah.
It's so I definitely learned. I think the process could have been condensed a little, but there is a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yes.
When you're waiting on writers getting back to you with revisions, some of them will get them back to you within a day or two. Some of them will take a couple weeks. So there's a lot of waiting.
Yes.
And I had never printed a book before. I had never ordered physical copies of a book. I had never formatted a book for print or Kindle. I've done all that now. I don't know if I could have done this entire project without the help that I had, though. And that's another thing that I've learned is how to ask for help.
That's a big thing.
Because I'm not exactly an A-type personality, but I definitely like, when I take a project like this on, I definitely am the sort of person that wants to make sure that everything is done the way that I believe it should be done. And I don't always know the way something should be done. And I've definitely learned that I don't always know that.
And that's a good thing to learn. It's a wise thing to learn.
Yeah.
No, like I got a novel. Like I'm trying to do as a self-publishing. You heard the beginnings of it a long time ago. It's in the final proofing stage now. It's taken a long time to get there.
Yeah.
It needed to go through that. I made mistakes along the way. I learned, but again, I'm not an expert, and that's one of the things like you recognize. I don't know everything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So learning to ask for help when I need it has been a huge thing.
And the other thing you learn about that is you're never alone on any project. No matter how alone you might think you are in that moment, the truth is not. You are never.
The world is full of fantastic people who are willing and eager to help. And if you believe in a project, you're gonna draw other people who believe in that project as well.
Yeah.
Like I had 5 other editors helping me develop the stories, and then I had layout and visual design help. I had we ran an Indiegogo campaign back in the winter to raise some money to pay the writers up front, and even just people sharing the campaign on social media was a fantastic help.
Yeah.
We didn't raise $1 million or anything.
Yeah, but you don't need to. When I was fixing my teeth, I did a similar thing with the GoFundMe.
Right.
It's genuinely moving when people come and help you. It was actually, you don't realize how much it means to you until all of a sudden you see, it's like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a learning experience. I don't know if the next one will go any smoother as a result.
Every book's different. There's one thing I've learned doing this is every book is a little different. There are different challenges with each one. I think the hardest thing probably as an editor I learned is when it's not rejecting the bad ones, it's rejecting the good ones because they don't fit that.
There were some tough decisions.
Yeah.
There were definitely some tough decisions, some rejections that we had to make, even though we liked and believed in the stories. There was one in particular that we had to reject because we only had 21 spots. We were fairly firm on word count and the size the book was going to be. We only had 21 spots, and one of the stories we ended up rejecting. It fit the theme. It was a good length. It was a good story, but it was a recent reprint, and it was still available. It was, I believe, about 1.5 years since it had last appeared. And part of Enigma Front is getting new authors into print and getting new work into print. So it kind of hurt to reject that particular story just because it was a reprint.
But you had to,
so
right?
We kind of had to make that call.
Yeah.
If it had been previously unpublished, that story probably would have been in the book. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way.
And that sucks.
And that was a really tough decision to make. That was one of the longer discussions we had at the editorial table. Was that particular story, and I still feel a little bit of regret about it, but.
It probably was the right call, and I think you're going to find as you keep doing this, the quality will go up, and you're going to have more of those. But you learn at the end of the day, like you got to go put your gut, what you feel is right in your book.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's your book.
Yeah. Like I say, there were other good stories that weren't quite on theme for the book and didn't make it as a result of that, but they were great stories. They just weren't right for the book.
Yeah.
But that particular one. Just like I say, with being a reprint that was still widely available from 18 months previous, it just...
I know.
It was tough. That one was tough.
But that's
the game,
yeah,
right?
Totally is.
Yeah.
So I think, Mr. Chris, we've had a decent interview here. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay, so how we do this? Talk about your book, what's about the theme, and how can people find you?
Which book? My book or the book we just released?
The book you just released.
The book we just released is an anthology titled Enigma Front Onward. All the writers are members of IFWA, which is the Imaginative Fiction Writers Association, speculative fiction writers group based here in Calgary. Although we have members from all across the country and around the world even. One of the writers in the book is currently living in Berlin. Anyway, the anthology itself, we solicited stories based on a super loose theme, optimism. We wanted stories that present a hopeful eye towards either the future or the past or the present, worlds either real or imagined, so science fiction, fantasy, horror, steampunk, whatever the author wanted to write, they were very much able to. We left it super open. So we've ended up with an anthology that has hard science fiction, softer science fiction, space opera. There's some fantasy, urban fantasy, Arthurian fantasy. We've got a comic book story. We've got robots. We've got retired superheroes. There's really something in this book for everybody.
It's awesome. So how can people find you?
We do have a website, ExitZeroBooks.com. That's the name of the publishing imprint we've set up for Enigma Front going forward. You can find us on Twitter at ExitZeroSF. We have a Facebook page as well, but we're on Amazon. Just look for Enigma Front Onward on Amazon. You'll find us.
All right.
Yeah.
Hold on a second here. And that was my conversation with Chris Carolyn. Enigma Front Onward is available now. It is an awesome collection. When you got people like Adria Laycroft, Chris himself, Robert J. Sawyer, Brent Nichols, I believe, is in this one as well. Yes, and Chris Mars, who I'm always a big fan of. You have an amazing collection just right there alone. There's a lot of good names. It's a really cool collection. And as usual, Chris does a really good job. So, hey, I'm looking forward to try next year to get my hand into this. We'll see if I get in or not. But, I mean, it's definitely going to be a cool thing to try to accomplish. So, you may see me do that. All right. That'll do it for another episode of Just Joshing. To support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to it. I'm on iTunes. I'm hoping to soon be on Stitcher, Google Play. I'm hoping to be on Spotify soon enough. They've all been applied for, but for right now, iTunes and the associated podcasts. Click the subscribe button. You want to leave a comment, say nice things about the podcast. Do so. If you don't want to say nice things about the podcast, well, that's fine too. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, and coming soon, Alice Zero. You can buy the first 3 right now, courtesy of MirrorWorldPublishing.com. There's currently a half-off sale. It ends literally in 6 days. You can buy my books there. Outside of that, there's my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteloresco. Check it out there. That'd be cool. Beyond all that, though, just stay inspired. And, yeah, like I said, man, hopefully all is well with you guys out there. I hope to see you guys and talk to you soon. Don't do anything I wouldn't do or don't get caught. All right? All right.
Josh.